All right, we are live. Welcome back. Hello, everybody. Let's give people a chance to tune in. You are watching the Stacks Bowers Gallery's Instagram account. This is Thursday, another episode of Heads or Tails, when me and my buddy Ben Orooji go back and forth and discuss why I'm right and why he's wrong. So let's bring Ben onto the broadcast here, and let's see if he's gonna. Looking for Ben Orooji. Ben Orooji here on the Heads or Tails Instagram broadcast experience. And let's see, he is joining us. Let's see, Ben Orooji.
I'm frozen here, James.
All right, I can hear you. I can't see you, which is not good. Let's see if we get this figured out. Okay, all right, let's try this again. Technical difficulties, guys. We are a coin company, not a technology company. Let's try this again. All right, we're going to bring Ben Orooji on one more time. So I have somebody to argue against. Let's see. And
all right.
Oh, there we go. Welcome, Ben. Welcome.
Why, thank you, James. I can't believe you would lie, though. Right in the beginning of your video, you're lying and saying that you're right and I'm wrong, and we know it's the opposite. The opposite is definitely true.
I guess we will see. We will post a poll after this to find out from our viewers.
Well, we were supposed to post a poll last week, but then that didn't happen because I think you were scared. You realized that you weren't going to win that debate. So
I realized that I had lost, huh?
I think that's what it was, but or maybe we just forgot. I'm not sure, but either way, let's definitely make a poll this time. Let's see what people think.
Sure. So if you're watching at home, be sure to check back on the Stacks Bowers account. We're going to have a poll. Let us know who won. And Ben, do you want to – let's go into this week's topic. Why don't you give them an overview of what we're going to be talking about?
Sure. So we're going to be discussing something that's an age-old debate, and it's kind of seen a resurgence in modern times, which is – or the last 20 years, I would say toned coins versus brilliant coins. So a lot of collectors like to have their coins to be white and no toning at all. And then we've noticed a lot of people really gravitating towards, toned coins and very beautiful coins, and paying premiums for it.
Sure. No, I mean, it's been a radical shift, right? I mean, if you go back just a few decades, 50 years or 40 years, I mean, untoned for Morgan dollars, white was the way to go. I mean, people were deliberately dipping their coins to remove this toning, and now we've come full circle.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, to a certain extent, there's still a lot of the dipping that goes on, in certain circles, more on a wholesale side, and but in any case, I mean, it is very interesting to see how the market has shifted to where people are willing to pay sometimes extreme premiums for otherwise equivalent coin, but this one has some pretty color associated with it as well. Right.
No, so let's get into reasons why that might be the case, and why don't you? I mean. You seem to think that untoned, brilliant coins are the way to go. Let's hear your perspective on that.
All right. Well, with all things, with these shows, we have to choose a side. So we have to choose an extreme side here, And so it's not that I don't appreciate, colorfully toned coins. I do. I get it. But part of the problem with toned coins is, what you're paying for. You're paying for essentially a chemical reaction, tarnish.
Tarnish.
Air has oxidized the coin, and or there's presence of sulfur or whatnot that's caused some colorful things to our eye, and I get that. But one of the things that toning does that really disturbs me, and there's going to be exceptions, but still, is it feeds luster, right? So one of the things that we all love about coins is the luster. We want to see bright, lustrous surfaces.
I know I do. Yep.
There are toned coins that do have strong luster, but they would be even better without the toning as far as the luster is concerned, And the toning is a gradual process that occurs over time, and it will continue going that direction, and it will get darker and darker and darker over time.
Sure.
So in order to kind of appreciate the coin for its full beauty, I would argue that a white brilliant coin is really the way to go, especially for a new collector or even somebody who's like a moderate collector. There are a lot of landmines associated with toned coins that you have to be wary for.
Of course.
So I just think that white coins are really the way to go in that respect. But go ahead and start arguing the toned coins, and then I'll refute you.
Sure. Well, you know, Ben, I actually might agree with you if I wanted to collect the most boring possible coins in existence. You know, ultimately, an untoned blast white coin, if we're talking about silver coins, is a blank canvas. It represents something that is not unique to that coin. You can identify or find many other examples that look exactly the same. Toning is what gives it that unique characteristic that distinguishes it from potentially hundreds of thousands of other examples. So if you want something really unique, really special, toned coins are the way to go.
Oh, you're arguing only one aspect of the coin. You're arguing the color. There's so many other aspects of the coin too. I mean, we're going to look at the surface marks, the luster. The luster is so important. Right. We're going to, look at the stripe. There are a lot of other aspects to the coin, James, than just
there
color.
are. But you and I know that viewing a coin really takes a different approach depending on how you're viewing it, the lighting and the magnification. Ultimately, I don't want to be looking at my coin through a magnifying glass all of the time. The what we would call the in-hand eye appeal is significantly impacted by the toning. That toning, a beautiful toned coin might excuse any of the smaller marks or even hairlines that you see under magnification. So I think toning allows for a lot of other characteristics that might not be as desirable.
I am so glad you brought that up. I'm surprised you brought it up. I thought I was going to have to do that work here.
Sure.
I'm
That's
so
why we're
glad
a good team, Ben.
That toning hides things.
Sure,
so
it certainly does.
It hides surface marks. It hides, past cleaning. It hides things that you would otherwise see. And so in one respect, that's bad for the collector. Right. I'm looking at a coin. Let's not even pay attention to what the slab says or whatnot, but I'm looking at a coin and it looks nice. And then later I take it home after I bought it, and then I notice some things there, and I'm like, I missed that. Sure. And if that coin were not toned, you probably wouldn't have missed it. Mm. More concerning is when the grading services miss it. And they're looking at this coin for a limited amount of time before they slap that grade on it, and they're giving it a higher grade than it necessarily would have gotten.
Sure.
And that means more money for you when you're looking to pay for this coin, buy this coin.
Right.
So I have a really good example here. Although it's going to be kind of hard to show this.
Sure.
I have two Cat Bus Reeded Edge halves.
Okay.
Both are Choice Mint State 63. Both are graded by PCGS. Both have CAC approval stickers.
Okay, so they are otherwise identical. This is apples to apples, essentially, right?
They are different years, but yes, I'm trying to be as apples to apples as I possibly can, sure, with pulling things out of my own collection. Yeah. And I will show you, and I will show the viewers, and what do you think has more appeal right away?
All right. Let's see.
So one here is the 1839. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but it's primarily brilliant.
Okay, I see it. Yeah, it looks rather boring and unremarkable, but let's see the other coin.
The luster is great.
Luster, great cartwheel. Looks like a great cartwheel. I mean, really nice coin.
I've got a toned 38. All right.
Okay.
And now there is some nice toning here. I'm not going to discount it. There's some nice color here, sure, but it's much harder to appreciate the toned coin over the non-toned coin. If I'm showing somebody what does a Cat Bus Reeded Edge $50 look like, why am I in love with this series or whatnot, I'm going to show them the brilliant coin so they can appreciate the design more fully. And I hate to say it, but with my toned example, if I look at it very closely, there are definitely more surface marks, things going on there that the toning is hiding. It's just
sure.
It's just the truth, you know.
No, I mean, you know, this brings up a point. You know, we see there are toning is, or addressing toning when it comes to coins is very, very precarious. I mean, we know that, you know, people even add toning to coins to deliberately hide things. So the enjoyment of toning requires a developed eye. You know, most collectors, when they very first start out, will want a brilliant blast white coin. But also, most people who start out playing the piano are terrible at it until they learn the finer intricacies. And that's exactly what toning represents. When an originally toned coin tells a story. It tells you where this coin has been, what it's been exposed to, and more importantly, that it hasn't been messed with. Now, you know, the issue of artificial toning muddies that water a little bit. But once you've developed an eye for what looks natural, a toned coin is much more interesting, much more honest than a potentially conserved or dipped out untoned coin.
I would argue, James, and you would know this as well, but there are a lot of people who will go through the trouble of adding toning because it's not terribly difficult to do so, although most of the time they're going to, you know, get easily caught by the grading surfaces. But things do slip through. You know, we see coins that were in a Unk Details holder 2 years ago, and now they come and then they're in a 63 holder, and it's got some toning there.
They have magically gained 50 years of toning in 6 months.
Right. And they also gained $40,000 in price, which just, you know, like, wow, you know, and that's something to be really concerned about, you know. And if I'm a, you know, beginning collector or even a moderate collector, you know, do I want to, you know, subject myself to that potential landmine, you know, when I'm purchasing coins? It's much, you know, a bright, brilliant white coin is much more accessible, and I can get around, you know, the grading of that coin, and I can evaluate the luster, you know, pretty quickly. And that's how you'll be able to tell whether a coin has been dipped out or not, because, you know, coins that have been dipped into strip, they lost their luster. You can tell. That's an easy thing to teach somebody.
Right. No, it is. And I think, I'll go back to the point that toning requires a lot of a well-developed eye to truly appreciate. But, you know, it's all subjective, right? I mean, even if this coin, well, your example is a perfect demonstration. If this coin untoned brought, say, 5,000 and then was later toned and brought 40,000, there was an obvious demand for toned coins and a greater appreciation for toned coins in the market, even if that toning is not honest. Now, I realize that offers a lot of landmines, but ultimately it demonstrates that the subjective nature of toning and color is way more appealing to collectors. And, you know, we see that in recent auction results, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are people who are paying, you know, I would argue ridiculous premiums for color. Although, you know, that being said, there are some times where we see things, you know, like the Monster Morgan dollars and whatnot, and they genuinely are beautiful coins. I can't discount that. They're nice, lovely coins. I just have to ask myself at the end of the day, is this worth a, you know, 1,000% premium?
Sure.
You know, and that's a real question to ask yourself. You know, I'm not going to be the one who says you should not buy toned coins. I'm also not going to be the person who says you should not buy a toned coin and pay, you know, a 20 to 50% premium.
Sure.
But I am going to be the guy who says, don't pay a 600% premium, you know, for this thing that.
However, if you are one of our bidders, please pay a 600% premium. Please continue paying those premiums because they, you know, they obviously are. There's always an underbidder. So if you enjoy toning, don't, you know, don't resist. Click that bid button. Pay those premiums. But Ben Orooji will not be bidding against you.
That is absolutely true. You know, yeah, I do have to remember that our bidders keep us in business.
They do.
But you know, the other thing too, James, that I think is worth thinking about is, you know, the idea that I'm going to prize the toning is it runs contrary to so much of what numismatics was founded on, which is preservation. We're all about preserving our coins. We want to keep them in the best conditions possible so that as little happens to them.
Sure. Well, you know, this might extend back to our argument from last week about when we were talking about top pop versus low ball. And I think some of the same argument can be made here. I think that a coin can still be very well preserved, but exhibit toning. I don't think that they are mutually exclusive. I think a well-toned coin can indicate just how well it's been preserved, that it hasn't been exposed to handling or any other surface issues.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That can be an indicator of an original coin.
Sure.
But when the question is, what do I want as a collector? If I'm purchasing, if all things else are equal, I would rather focus on the bright, brilliant, highly lustrous, coin. And after I have it, I'm not going to put it in a windowsill and I don't know, put a rotten egg next to it so it gets exposure to sulfur and hope that it gets toning,
Right.
No, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna put in an intercept shield holder and an intercept shield box, and I'm gonna
zero oxidation, zero toning,
desiccants all around it. I'm gonna hope that nothing happens to my coin and it stays in as pristine possible condition. And it's funny because even toning enthusiasts, what do they put their coins in after they buy them? In intercept shield holders and intercept shield boxes, and they put the desiccants, and they don't want it to tone more.
No, and as I said, it's toning evolves, it develops. I mean, the same coin is going to look entirely different in 5-10 years, but I think a similar approach can be taken with artworks, with paintings. You're always trying to keep it in that ideal state of preservation, that level of patina that's just right. And just because maintaining a toned coin is difficult does not mean that it shouldn't happen. I think that it really comes down to how much you weight visual appeal in your collecting. If you value things much more because of their historic associations or some of these other more quantitative qualities, then toning might not be for you. But if pulling it out of your safety deposit box or your vault at home and looking at it, if that is the most important experience for you, then toned coins are the way to go.
I mean, I suppose I can understand that point of view, that if you're only looking at it for the visual pop, so to speak, then toning, it's going to be the easiest, quickest thing to appreciate is that color that I immediately see.
Sure. No, we are millennials. We love instant gratification.
There's so much more to numismatics and coins, and I want to know about the striking characteristics of my coin. I want to know about the preservation. I want to know about the luster. I want to know about all of these aspects of the coin other than the color. And why would I want to to put all of my eggs in one basket of this color? Be like, oh well, it's got really beautiful color, so it's just so strange to me. But one thing I did want to ask you about, James, is when you're talking about color and toning, there are different types of toning, of course.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you're going to argue the toning, what kind of toning do people value?
Sure. No, I mean, we see this all the time. I mean, you can look at our auction results and see the evidence of this. I mean, ideally it is bright, vibrant rainbow toning in terms of the color. And then that toning really can take on a number of different patterns. You have, if we go back to Morgan dollars, you have things like end roll toning and textile toning, album toning, where you get those nice rings of rainbow near the edges. I mean, there's tons and tons of different toning, but ultimately it's the bright, vibrant rainbow, even neon colors that are going to attract the most interest from bidders.
Sure, and you're apt to see that on a Morgan silver dollar because of the bag toning, because of conditions that they were stored in.
Of course.
You're not so likely to see that on a Lincoln cent. Although some Lincoln cents do have, this crazy rainbow color, and they command um, crazy prices as well.
Potentially even higher premiums because that series doesn't come with color, right? I mean, we see that for piece silver dollars, right? A toned Morgan is going to bring, is very frequently encountered with color. You can find a beautifully toned Morgan without too much effort. You go just a few years into the future, from the 1921, the same year, and the toning landscape is completely different. I mean, anytime we feature an attractively toned piece dollar in our auction, it sells for a ridiculous premium just because they're so hard to come by.
Sure, and piece dollars are one of those coins that, I mean, typically they are toned, but they're toned in, this like goldish, wheat kind of hues, and many people in the market would say that's a unattractively toned coin.
Sure.
And, the premiums really come out when you have a absolutely brilliant, gorgeous, superb luster, or something with vibrant toning.
Sure.
I actually have one coin over here. You might recognize this coin, James.
Let's see. Let's bring it out.
You remember this piece dollar here?
So that piece dollar has a fantastic provenance. That is an excellent piece dollar.
It's really hard to appreciate this over Instagram.
It is.
It's got some, spots of like this really cool, like bluish, greenish, sea green toning, but it's also got some, browns, varying shades of browns.
I like to call those bronze or maybe caramel.
Yeah, you like these descriptive words.
Brown sounds so boring and pedestrian. They have beautiful caramel hues. How about that?
I call it what it is, James. I call it what it is. You can dress it up.
I like dressing it up.
It's not a bad coin, and I kind of like this coin because of those those. If you hold this coin at the right angle, it really pops.
Sure.
But there are two things about this coin right away. One, the market's not going to love this coin because of those. What did you say? Caramel and bronze hues.
Right.
Market's not going to like that coin so much.
And
two, when you really study this coin, there's lots of chatter. There's lots of stuff that the toning is hiding. And I would argue that without that toning, that coin would not be in a 64 holder. It would probably be a 63, maybe even lower.
Sure, but then, we must acknowledge that eye appeal is a strong contributor to grade, right? I mean, there's, of course, technical grade that involves surface marks and strike and luster, which you seem to be a fan of. But eye appeal, toning, I mean, that factors in a lot. If you are walking past a dealer's case or you are looking at some of our auction highlights at a show, what's going to grab your eyes first? The beautifully toned coin that you see from arm's length, or the pristine coin that you can't really appreciate unless it's under 10 times magnification?
I'm going to argue well, I know what people are going to focus on, but what I'm going to appreciate more is that pristine coin, that top pop high grade coin that's just a luster bomb, so to speak.
Yeah.
You did mention one thing though, at grading is subjective. We know that. We're not going to that shouldn't be. Grading should be subjective. But one of the things that really concerns me with toned coins is how quickly they can change from one grade to the other. And in a way, that's kind of cool to see, but it's also this is one of those landmines for collectors where, you'll have one type of coin, I'm thinking of a Franklin half dollar in specific, in recent times that, it was a nice Franklin half, and it was, $1,000 coin or so. And then, not so long, a few years, it became a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 coin.
Sure.
Because it upgraded, because of the eye appeal.
Sure.
And it did that several times because grading is subjective, and it got in front of another, grader, and they looked at it and they said, this toning is worth an upgrade here.
Sure. I mean, you could suggest that I mean, we use the term gradeflation would come as a response to market demand, market forces. I mean, we mentioned at the beginning that toned coins have really been taking off in auction. Something that is otherwise $1,000 blast white might bring $50,000 with toning. And yes, this gradeflation may happen. I mean, we may be able to trace it back through previous auction appearances, but that doesn't mean that it's not justified, or justified in terms of reflecting the grading standards at the time. I mean, you and I know collectors buying coins in the 70s and 80s, you know, they were buying coins labeled Gem BU or Choice BU that today we would hesitate to even to call anything near that. So grading standards have changed, and I think it's okay for us to acknowledge that toned coins are gaining interest.
They are. They are definitely gaining interest. But I think that the things that are getting the most interest are what you did say, the vibrant rainbow hues,
Sure.
The Monster Morgans. We see that on Franklin half dollars as well. And sometimes on commemorative halves, you know, some of that toning can be appreciated. Now, I, for one, am not so much a fan of the original, like, tab toning from commemorative halves.
Sure.
I'm not sure about yourself. Do you like that, you know, it's usually dark.
Sure, it's usually dark, but I do like it. It tells a story. It lets you know how these things were distributed, how these things were stored. I mean, yes, I prefer it with some color. Oftentimes it's kind of a dark, maybe even murky violet or deep chocolate color. But I do prefer that as opposed to a blast white brilliant coin, I must say.
Yeah, the market wouldn't agree with you there now. So when you study auction comps, usually with the commemoratives, you'll get the value bump with that crazy, you know, vibrant rainbow toning, and then you'll get a value bump when it's, you know, blast white, superb, you know, just, I call them luster bombs. But then the dark toning, it takes a real specialist to appreciate that.
It does. It certainly does. And I think, you know, Ben, we have a comment here from Ethan that says, what does it matter if it's justified? If you like it and are willing to spend the money. And I think that you know, that's something we can certainly agree on. That kind of sums up the overall approach to collecting in general, right? If you like it and you want to pay the money, then go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I'm never going to knock a collector and say, like, you shouldn't have spent that money. Sure. But, you know, as a collector myself, you know, I'm not a person who has, you know, a unlimited pocketbook. You know, I have to choose where to spend my dollars at the end of the day. And if I choose to buy a, you know, $50,000, you know, toned coin, I'm probably not going to be able to buy a coin for a few years. You know, I just don't have that kind of money.
Me neither, Ben. Me neither. So on that note, why don't we close here talking about you know, how you would recommend someone approaching a collection of blast white untoned coins? What should they look out for? What's popular in the market? Or you know, give your feedback on that.
Sure. So I would say, like, if you're a modern collector, you should definitely be pursuing the, you know, blast white, you know, perfectly untoned, you know, surfaces. That definitely seems to be what that market values. And then usually silver dollar collectors, Morgans, piece dollar collectors, Franklin half dollars, those series, people do appreciate the blast white surfaces.
Sure.
Mercury dimes, Roosevelt dimes, those types of things. And to be careful paying premiums for a blast white coin, I would say in maybe an older series, you know, Seated Liberty dollars or you know, original bust dollars. If those are bright white,
sure, there's a reason why they're bright white.
Sure, but they've been played with a little bit to get them to that level.
Sure.
But yeah, just to be knowledgeable about kind of like what exists out there for the series that you're interested in, you know, and PCGS and NGC and auction, you know, records are good sources to kind of see what exists out there. And you kind of want to make sure that you are collecting something that other people would want, that kind of fits, in my view, that kind of fits within the majority staple. Sure. You know, I don't like collecting at the far reaches of either side.
Yeah,
because
you like the blue chips, the you know, the go-tos, the meat and potatoes.
There you go. What about for tone coins? What would you recommend?
For tone coins, I mean, I think at the very beginning, it's important to either have good guidance in the way of a dealer or some other person who has been in the industry a lot. I think it's also important to stick with certified coins at first. You know, you may be paying the big premiums, but ultimately that's helping you develop your eye as to what is original toning versus what might be artificial or added toning. So you know, definitely stick with coins that have been reviewed and approved by others who potentially have been in the industry longer so that you can develop your eye for toned coins. But ultimately, I think that a lot of the 19th century issues offer a really good value in toned coins. Some of the smaller Liberty-seated issues, toned Liberty-seated dimes are a steal. You know, there's a lot of attention to toned Morgans, and I think you can get a really, really beautiful Morgan dollar, toned Morgan dollar for just a few $100s, but you can get some spectacular deals in the Liberty seeded series, some of which are even older than Morgans and oftentimes for less money. So you know, I think it's important to get guidance, buy certified, and maybe even look at series that are underappreciated in with color. You know, you're not going to want to dive into a toned piece dollar set because that's going to take you a long time and cost you a lot. You know, stick with those high mintage 19th century series, even if it is Morgan dollars, and you're going to get a good value out of it.
That makes sense. Yeah. Stay away from the eBay raw coins, huh?
Yes, absolutely. All right, Ben, it sounds like you have a visitor there, and we are out of time. So any final thoughts?
I don't think so. Just, you know, tune in next week, same time, and we'll be debating something new. Make sure to vote on the poll. I would really like to be, you know, to be vindicated here from that first thing that you said. And I think that's it.
Sure. Yeah, as Ben said, you know, tune in for the poll. We're going to have a poll after this. And I also want to thank Instagram user Trey Jones. I think Trey Cameo is his Instagram name. He suggested the toned versus untoned debate, and we appreciate it. Also, you know, if you guys have ideas about what you want us to talk about, please send us a DM, message either one of us. You can message Ben, you can message me. We're reachable by email. All of our contact information is on the Stacks Bowers website. So thank you for watching, and we will see you here next week, same time, for Heads or Tails.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.